Lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy, and this time I'm reviewing 12 Days. This is a collection of 12 short stories. Each of these is based around one of the 12 days of Christmas from the song The 12 Days of Christmas. The writers on this are Stella Duffy, Myka Gale, Annabel Giles, Val McDermid, Shelley Silas, who is also the editor of the book, Sophie Kinsella, Helen Cross, Ben Richards, Lauren Henderson, Jake Arnott, Matt Whyman, and Patrick Neate. I'm pretty sure Sophie Kinsella is the only author in here that I'd actually read before, and is the entire reason why I picked up this book. So this is a mixed bag of short stories covering a plethora of different writing genres. They're all British writers, although not all of them take place in Britain. So the short stories in here are a complete mix of things. There is contemporary fiction, there is stuff that's more like chick lit, there is historical fiction. One of them feels like a Sherlock Holmes. There is one that takes place in Baghdad that is based off a true story. So it's just completely all over the place. It's also a mix of writing talents, not only just styles, but some of them just weren't as well written as others. So it's completely all over the place. Some of them really clutched on to the Christmas theme and they feel holiday-esque, and some of them they could totally just not be Christmas stories at all. I think maybe they just happened to happen at Christmas. Some of them I didn't even remember them being Christmassy at all, like not even the setting being in December or anything. So it's a complete mix. This is definitely an adult collection of short stories, though. There is a rape scene in here that I actually didn't think was necessary. There's also a lot of drug and alcohol use, and there's definitely mention of sex and characters having sex, even though there's no, like, sex scenes other than the rape, sort of. So my favorite ones in here were the ones that were more chick-lit-esque, and there's one in here that feels very much like a Sherlock Holmes story. I also really enjoyed that. The ones that were more contemporary fiction, the ones that dealt with drug use and alcohol and relationship problems, like married couples bickering, those are all not my favorite things, and a reason why I completely avoid normal contemporary fiction most of the time. So this is a complete mixed bag. Some of them are really good, some of them are really bad, some of them is just my taste that I don't enjoy contemporary fiction. So no matter how good those short stories were, I was never gonna like them anyway. So I ended up giving this book 3 stars overall. Although that's kind of generous, because some of these I was really, really slogging through, like struggling to get to the end of. Some of them I just breezed through, though. So, averaging them out. If you want to know what the short stories are, I'm going to go through them really, really briefly. I'm trying not to spoil them, but if you want to go into this not knowing anything about these short stories, then peace out. There's my completely non-spoilery review. So the first story in here is A Partridge in a Pear Tree. It is written by Stella Duffy, and this one is definitely got a magical realism element to it. This farmer plants this pear tree that is really strange and magical, and it brings tons and tons of attention, and this princess hears about it, and the princess comes, and the two of them have this connection. The second short story is Two Turtledoves by Myka Gale. This one follows a married couple that is going to counseling. It's on Christmas Eve. Their counselor is running late. The two of them are struggling in their relationship and trying to decide whether or not they should stay together. The third short story is Three French Hens by Annabel Giles, and this one follows 3 different French women as they deal with the death of this one man that they all had relationships with. Then we have Four Calling Birds by Val McDermid. We have these 4 middle-aged women. They're at risk of losing their jobs when the place that they work for, the place that they're calling bingo for, gets a new owner, and he doesn't want these older women calling anymore. The next one is 5 Golden Rings, which is written by Shelley Silas, who is the editor of this collection of short stories. It is also based off the true story of the bell ringer at the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem. It is very much this descriptive story of what's going on in this character's life and describing what it's like in the Middle East and the politics of what modern day Bethlehem looks like and feels like and what Christmas means to them there. also having all the tourists come, especially around Christmas time, but also how Christmas has changed and evolved. Then we have Six Geese a Laying by Sophie Kinsella. This one follows this birthing group, this Lamaze class. We have all these pregnant women who have been selected for this ultra exclusive birthing class with this really famous teacher. And it's a lot of really rich women who feel kind of snotty and snobbish about getting into this one specific class, and they each have their own thing they have to deal with. But one of the women is this like teenage girl who is barely old enough to have a kid, is completely freaking out that she's not going to be okay having a baby. We have Seven Swans of Swimming by Helen Cross. This one is about this married woman who wakes up, I think it's New Year's Day, and her neighbor is out in the cold naked, waking up the next morning, and she's relating the events that happened over like the last week or so that caused all this crazy mania in this community. Then we have Eight Maids of Milking by Ben Richards. This one, it's told through the narrator's perspective, and we have his life story, but then he is also helping out his neighbor, who is this foreigner who is getting bullied and picked on by the gang of teenagers who likes to cause problems, who one day told them to knock it off and stop messing with somebody else's, I think it was a bike. And now the gang of teenagers has threatened him and his wife and his children, and he's especially worried about his 6-year-old daughter. And the narrator is accompanying him to his daughter's school pageant, Christmas pageant, as protection. Nine Ladies Dancing by Lauren Henderson is another one that has kind of this magical realism / fantasy feel to it. We have this gentleman in this really timeless setting, but it kind of feels like it might be historical fiction. And this guy goes out into the woods one night, and despite hearing stories about not doing that, he sees a group of women dancing in the woods and immediately falls in love with one of them, and then tries to track her down. And there are stories about fairies and fairy magic involved in this. 10 Lords of Leaping by Jake Arnott is the one that feels like a Sherlock Holmes mystery. We have 10 lords in this one family who have all died from leaping or falling to their deaths. And the last one we meet, and he's relating this story. And they're trying to piece together whether or not this is actually a curse or if it's just a mystery. It's a little bit creepy. It's definitely got a Victorian vibe to it. We've got the lords and all the different stories from 10 different members of this family. A lot of it has scandal in it. Then we have 11 Pipers Piping by Matt Whyman, and this one is about 11 drug addicts. We're specifically following one who wakes up on Christmas morning and realizes he didn't get his girlfriend, who is also a drug addict, a present. So he goes to his dealer and is trying to get money from him. He's like, I'll just do chores for you. And while he's there trying to actually earn money to go buy a Christmas present, all these other crack addicts come and they have their own Christmas together. 12 Drummers Drumming by Patrick Neate follows Miss T. We see her both in a more modern setting and thinking back to when she was a girl. So we meet her when she's like 40 and how she's sitting on the stoop. She has this very laid back atmosphere where she watches the neighborhood kids, kind of sees everybody else. A few people, especially the older people in the community, come and talk with her. And then we also have flashbacks to her childhood and what happened to her and why she is the way she is. And drumming and dancing plays a very big part in this one. So if you have read 12 Days, or if you've read any of the short stories that are in here separately, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. And if you have any good suggestions of really Christmassy feeling good stories, let me know, because that's what I was hoping for and I didn't get it. So yeah. So peace out. I love you guys and keep reading. Bye.